Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the beautiful track of Kyalami. Welcome to the Africa Sim Racing Festival. And welcome to Assetto Corsa Competizione out on PC. My name's Stephen Kurdick. Joining me in the commentary box is none other than the upcoming voice here in South Africa, Tristan Herbst. Tristan, how are you feeling, buddy?
Doing absolutely amazing today, Stephen. It is going to be one-of-a-kind racing here today at the MSA Africa Festival. I genuinely cannot wait to see some of these cars sitting around track.
It's going to be a rather exciting one. We've got quite a bit on the line for this race in particular because there's a number of prizes up for grabs. There's also getting the acknowledgement of being Africa's fastest here at Kyalami, a beautiful circuit that we all know and love. But also Assetto Corsa Competizione being the original that we used last year. So for the second year running of the Africa Festival, comes back in to display some great drivers. We're looking at close to 50 drivers on the grid that is going to be really racing around. And all this is coming in association with Motorsport South Africa, Logistical Nightmare Racing being the host of it. And all the broadcast that's coming through is from Genesis Extreme, which I got to say, fantastic to see the shots. A big well done to them on that side. But I got to say, I'm excited, mainly not on just the epic prizes we got, but the drivers, the caliber of drivers we got in racing. We're expecting to have a brand new crown handed over to a new set of drivers, and that has got everyone at the top of their game waiting to go. Justin, I got to say, I'm a little bit on the nervous side, but more of the excited nervous of what's going to happen. What are we going to see in this long race? Who's put in the setup? What's going to be the advantages? What's going to be the disadvantages? Who's going to be able to get it to the end in such a monster grid? And especially, we've got Pro and Pro-Am in one big space.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be one heck of a race coming down to the last hour. We've seen how some of these drivers race. They're well known throughout our community here in sim racing around South Africa, as well as, participating outside of South African borders, and we know the immense amount of speed here. The differentiation as well between our two classes, Pro and Pro-Am, we know it from weekly racing. It is not a major difference. We are not racing amateurs versus professionals here. This is almost one big mix of drivers who race relatively equally in pace, and it is going to be an absolute brawl down to the line. Kyalami as well, a circuit that we know can be punishing to some if you don't know how to drive it, but thankfully, being a South African, lots of the guys on grid today also being South African, they've driven this track quite a lot of times. It's not going to be one of those randoms that you have to learn as soon as you get on the starting grid. They are going to know what to do. They're going to know how to take it, but there are those unexpected times where you can lose control. In specific, have your eyes peeled on Cheetah. If you don't know what Cheetah is, the track map will be coming up a little bit later on. Cheetah is that inaugural second last corner of this track, which can cause a little bit of dents and bumps on these GT3 cars. So Stephen, this is going to be an absolutely wild one.
We've also got a number of competitors coming from across the borders as well, coming to join in this fantastic race. We've got Madagascans coming and having a bit of fun with us. Namibia, Nigeria, Mozambique also being part of the show. So it's a big challenge out to all that are up and down through Africa to be part of this incredible challenge. But it's not going to just end here. We have also got our Logistical Nightmare Racing that's going to be hosting for the Assetto Corsa Competizione console side, and that has both Xbox and PlayStation racing here at the Africa Festival for 2025, and then ending the entire show with Online Karting League Africa going and putting on the Tillotson T4s that is actually backed by Tillotson and by Formula K, which is huge to go and see both a brand partner of karting and a track to get behind the names and ensure that we're in for a huge run. But let's talk about the prizes, because we have a viewer prize just for you petrol heads out here, a Sparko Gaming voucher worth 1,500 Rand, brought to you by Sparko Gaming and Black Ribbon Simulations. That's enough to get you specialized socks for sim racing and gloves as well. I mean, that is just, man, if you haven't signed up now, I don't know why you haven't. I suggest you do it. It's down in the description. Go and click the link. T's and C's apply. I know that I've even signed up because that is massive, and it's love to see that MS Technic and we have got Sparko products coming through. Event prize is one that is going to be exciting. This is a random draw of all the drivers. They have to finish the race. That is the condition. You can't just sit in the pits. you get to win a SimNet haptic pedal reactor starter kit. You heard me right. Going and being brought by simulatorcave.com. This is worth 3,500 Rand, and you can have on your rig bolted. And all that you have to do is finish the race. That's all you need to do to go and do it. You don't even have to come in first in your class, even though coming in first is a major thing. Just finish the race, random draw, and you, the viewers, will get to hear it live on who won that prize at the end of the race. I've got to say, super, super excited about it. A little bit of something different, but also we do have our pro-ams and pros to give it. But Tristan, take us through this beautiful circuit that we call Kyalami.
So the Kyalami Grand Prix, like we've spoken about, an inaugural part of South Africa here, located in Midrand, Karting, a whopping 16-turn circuit, and might I add, not a flat circuit at all. Loads of gradient coming into play here, especially up towards Leeuwkop, especially why it's called Leeuwkop. It is the lion's head of the circuit, right at the top of the track. The drivers hit into a hairpin all the way down mineshaft, quite fast, and as you can see, turn number 15, our inaugural cheetah corner, where we do sometimes have flying GT3 cars who have not taken the corner correctly. So very excited for this one. And first corner as well, not actually, it doesn't really look like a corner for most, but it is identified as a corner here. And then Crawthorne, our legendary T1, as most are classified, our turn 1 concertina effect, where most of your GT3s are going to be piling up right behind each other, up into Barbecue and into Sunset, where quite frankly the Sunset is absolutely amazing here in Midrand on the Kyalami circuit. So keep an eye out over there. Loads of action can happen, as well as the S's, where we often see cars not managing to get the rotation down, especially towards your later stages of the race where the tires start to become an issue. The S's can become an issue. So loads and loads of action points around Kyalami over here. Not a boring track whatsoever, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled, because it is going to be filled with action non-stop. 4.5 kilometers, also a not short of a track whatsoever, so it is going to be constant focus, as well as loads and loads of areas for overtaking to happen. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled, because Stephen, this is going to be one of worthy note. What a track for our MSA Africa Festival. It makes sense to be our home Grand Prix here at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. It's going to be a major one. And talking about our race details for today, like we've spoken about, it is our GT3 cars coming through. And like we mentioned, it is a merge of our Pro and Pro-Ams, or like we like to call them here in South Africa, our Pro Lights. Essentially relatively same pace as their Pro drivers, as like we mentioned, track, Kyalami, and a 50-minute long race. So a total 1 hour between qualifying and the likes of the actual race, and no mandatory pit stops required, so people can sit on one tank and one set of tires throughout the entire race. Obviously incidents can happen. We're hoping to see the most clean racing we can here at the Africa Festival, but anything can happen in GT3 races. If you've seen it on weekly races, things can get tight, especially when we have a champion potentially being crowned at the end of this series. You have to continuously put in that action to try and grab that crown for yourself. It's going to be a major one, Steve.
Uber exciting, uber great, and our virtual grandstands absolutely packed by those petrol heads, which is always fantastic. But cutting down to the circuit, a beautiful drone shot aerial view, and you will also see the amount of cars circulating, getting themselves going for their qualifying, putting in the fastest times. Now, to take you through our timing tower, pros are white borders, Pro-Ams are the silver borders. So keep that in mind. We have got 2 races amongst this. Not only are they looking for overall wins, you are looking for wins outright in your class. So pick and choose your battle is what's coming down. Jason Farmer first out there for the Griffin Sim Racing team, hoping to really make a monster impact here for the Africa Festival, taking this second time entering. He's looking to really go and lay down the law, really push on. And also with the new Triumph Sims, he's trying to push it a little bit further up the right. Philip Minard coming in as well. The 255 competition going and rolling out. They're going sporting the Go setup liveries. I know that the Go setups have been incredibly quick around the circuit, but we cannot take away that the LFM BOP is on these cars, which means no one has a car advantage over anyone. You've got to pretty much work out what's going to be the great idea in this race. Good to see a good choice. I've got to say, the Mustang, beautiful. A little bit further down, Kalen Mauer for the Pace Motorsport team, transitioning from the likes of console racing, which we'll see a little bit later on, into the world of PC racing. Been really making his name in that world. We saw him a little bit earlier, even participating in the rally side of it. Now jumping out of rally, dusting off his boots, climbing into a GT3 car.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Loads of familiar names that we're seeing around track here. Like we mentioned, it's a hobby that does run throughout weeks of continuous action. It is a hobby where you can simply sit at home on your own custom rig, and that does allow for a lot of people to be there as many times as possible. Roland Steyn from Genesis Esports Racing Club is also here to make his mark, but we've seen some international names as well. Like we mentioned, Philip Mina currently sitting out on pole currently with a 140.3, one of the more international drivers in the LFM Pro Series. And but also, like we mentioned, a wide range of drivers who are very local, and this could potentially be one of their first biggest style tournaments, and more racing casually during their weeks and actually building up that skill to come and participate in something of this scale. The MSA Africa Festival, no short feat of having to try and push your car to the absolute limits. Johan Krebler of the JG Sim Sport, also one of your relatively newer drivers, coming in, the number 9 Ford Mustang, and a car that's also, like, if you know the game of ACC, relatively new to the game, one of the only 2024 featured cars that are out on track right now. Obviously just below it is the Ferrari 296, but this car dominating top speed, but it does slightly struggle with oversteer with the amount of weight on that massive V8 in front. But we'll have to see how it brings out in terms of performance. We've got a lot of Fords out on grid, but we do also have a large scale of Ferraris. Me and Steven are used to seeing that yellow badge. It was the meta car for quite a long time in 2023 when the Ferrari 296 launched in here, currently in the Ferrari 296. It was a car driven by almost everybody in the grid. It's got sheer pace, the V6 twin turbo in front, really knows how to pull the car around track. It's got great rotation, it's got great acceleration, and it can really push other drivers to the absolute extremes. Philip Mina coming across now to set another lap here at Kyalami. It is not a faster lap, unfortunately. Actually, it was a 140.25, but unfortunately invalid. Brandon Kruger of the Omnius Gaming KSR is also trying to set his time in the Ford Mustang, currently with a 140.9. Definitely can push himself to be a bit faster. Having to fight through the traffic, though, of this sheer size grid of 40-plus cars, it can become a little bit challenging in qualifying, and people really have to maneuver themselves and show how to give people space in a qualifying session. You cannot block somebody in during a lap, especially on the scale size that we have now, 40 drivers pursuing around track here at Kyalami. Everybody has to try and get their chance in and set those lap times. Otherwise, you might be starting a little bit further down on the grid than you would have hoped to.
John Faviers of Delta Negative Racing will be looking to try and take away some time. At the moment, he is unfortunately only able to pick up by 0.2 of a second looking at the timing monitor, and instantly getting beaten out by Richard Bird, who is really giving it everything he's got. He's up 0.7 and fighting his way through. So it's always great to see that there's a couple of drivers still trying to improve their times. We'll have to see the drivers pushing themselves out a little bit more. So for Fears, going and increasing his time. He's now running 0.2, running 0.3 as he makes his way through, getting a little bit quicker. Would lose out a little bit with the Porsche, just having to alter his line, but thankfully not too much. Will this be a good lap for him to get ahead of Bluchnote in the running order? But we also do have one of our international drivers running in 5th position at current, who's just staying in there. But a 140.3 is incredibly quick, and Minar is absolutely putting the power down to ensure he breaks away from the field. But you cannot dispute the top 6 all within a second of one another is incredible feat.
No, absolutely, and I mean it's going to be like this throughout our entire race here. As I already mentioned, 40 cars, it's not just the Pro division, it is Pro and Pro-Am. We've got loads of mixes here. We've actually got family members in here. Just on camera a few minutes ago was Juan Viviers, now driving the Aston Martin, and his father, just a little bit lower than him in 17th right now, the Ferrari 296 of Johan Viviers. And both of them have been known throughout the weekly races of challenging each other on a father-son duo. Now in the MSA Africa Cup, trying to show everybody else who's boss out on track here. But currently, Philip Mina will still hold the track starting position. We had a number 29 currently sitting yellow on track, but that was just after setting a qualifying lap, and now pulling over into the pit lane. But we're going to have to see how this goes. We've got 2 minutes left. So this is all going to come down to these final pinnacle moments. Those who are inside of the pit lane will be coming out now on very minimal fuel, almost around 9 or 8 liters of fuel or so, brand new tires, and trying to get those final millimeters of lap time in to get their top positions in with the next 1 minute and 45 seconds. It's not a lot of time to work with, especially with the sheer size of cars we have on track. You can see the track map on the sides of your screen, it is constant movement throughout. There is not one dry section around Kyalami here where there is a standstill out on track. Every single car is rotating around circuit. There's a couple of cars having to fight with others, like I mentioned, trying to get those lap times in while managing the traffic of this 40-car grid. And Kyalami can get tight sometimes with the amount of corners and the amount of turns that these cars are having to make consistently. But Philip Minot coming across does not get the lap time he wanted there, but as you can see, pulling wide on the final corner. Now, if you're not sure what that means, it's actually to get a better launch onto the starting straight. So pulling slightly wider coming out of Ingwe does give a little bit more straight line speed for the car to build up, and it will give him that very, very little advantage to potentially pull a little bit more of a gap. He is getting a little bit of competition from second and third. Like we mentioned, our top six fighting very hard with each other, and that's going to be consistent action throughout this race. Kalen Mawa has pulled himself, though, up to 13th position. Just in front of him is Michael Donaldson, who's also fighting incredibly well, now up into 11th actually, so he's doing incredibly well. He's being pushed down to 12th now, but I mean, that just shows you the amount of cars on this grid that are consistently setting better times than they originally set. Everybody is pushing themselves to the absolute limit to try and get those lap times in. Oratile Motsogosele is also out on track. Someone I've actually driven with in real life in terms of on rigs in person, and now coming to participate for the NDK Motorsports team, the number 17992, to also try and send it on track. The Porsche, also an inaugural car that has had quite a good run here at Kyalami. It's got great acceleration, great rotation. It does lack on top speed, but Kyalami, having loads of intermediary sections where the car is slightly slower, it does experience a bit of an advantage. 22nd he finishes off, and so far this is how the grid is going to start to formulate.
At the moment, Philip Minot leads out the pack, trying to increase that 140.3. Johan Krobler, also known to everyone, it's called Bago Krobler, is running in second place, as we do see Philip Minot caught behind one of the Ferraris. He's going to have the slipstream, but is this going to affect his time to really stamp it home? Philip Minot, one of the original contenders from last year, who didn't quite get the win this year, he's come in for the fight with a 140.1 when he crossed the line. Johan Krobler, who's out towards the top of the circuit, or formerly known as West Bank, makes their way down the mine shaft, absolutely gunning it. You keep to the far right and swing the car in, foot to the floor the whole way through. Look for the braking boards on the left-hand side in the fence, and swing the nose back through into Crocodile. Get yourself geared up towards Cheetah. Currently, he is trying everything he can. Oh, missing the apex, goes wide, and that is unfortunately going to take him down the order as Bernard Barkhuizen puts himself into second place, and Johan Krobler gave it his best shot. Will come across the line in fourth place as Raleigh goes and gets fifth. Brandon Krug, Raleigh gets third. Brandon Kruger gets fifth. Sixth is Jono Wilson, followed by Dean Nokia, Jason Farmer, Johan Blicknote in ninth, and Ruan Heineke getting 10th. But all sitting in the 140s, folks. I've got to say, that is incredibly quick. And I think we're in for a rather exciting race. The fastest in Africa, as South Africa challenged every other ASN. Come race. Let's put all the fastest of the sim races squared up against one another and see who wins. Last year, it was Jordan Sherritt who took the win. Now, we're going to have it completely switched out for 2025. But Tristan, take us through this phenomenal grid.
Over 40 cars lining up here on the start-finish straight of Kyalami. Philip Minot banging it out on top with a P1. Bernard Barkhuizen, someone who's actually been off scene for a while, back to challenge the MSA Africa Cup in second. And Ralahi into third position, followed by Krubler and Brandon Kruger in fifth. Wilson comes across in sixth. Dino Kier is in seventh. Jason Farmer comes across in eighth. Johan Blicknote rounds up in ninth. Ruan Heineke closes off the top 10. Juan Viviers comes across in 11th. Michael Donaldson just outside in 12th position. Kalen Mauer in 13th. Andre Klaassen just a little bit further down in 14th. Tinas Buerta comes across in 15th position, followed by Van der Sant in 16th, and then Johan Viviers, the father of Juan, a little bit further down in 17th. Henry Platt in 18th position, followed by Liam Swinburne in 19th position, and then Ron van der Walt in 20th, followed by Buerta, as well as Henk Pieterse. In 23rd is Motsogosele, and a little bit further down on that grid after Motsogosele is Orit de Jager in 24th position. 25th is Steyn, Followed by him is, fortunately just can't see that name, 27th is Theron, followed by E. De Good, and followed by 29th. Slightly hard to see the grid as we get to the following moments here, but it's Duarte. And in 30th is Van der Heever, that's Rob Van der Heever. In 31st, Janssen van Rensburg. 32nd, Olaoy. And in 33rd is, I believe that's Bard. And in 34th is Merritts, followed by 35th is Van der Venter. 36 is Brevis. In 37th is, I believe that's Quiteres. And 38th is Roderick, followed by 39th is Al Joubert. 40th is Vian Besagi. 41st is Bazadenos. And to rock off this grid all the way back in 42nd, it's not the end of this race. It's 50 minutes down, but for S Mad, he's going to be starting near the back of the grid, but it is a sheer 40 size grid. You can see it in your track map in the top right. The entire start-finish straight of Kyalami is absolutely closed up, and it is bunched to an extreme quarter here. Stephen, this concertina effect going into turn 1 is going to be scary.
It's gonna be fun, and I can tell you here in the commentary box and for the broadcasters, we have got chills, absolute chills. I know Christian Deploy, who has been working tirelessly on the graphics. Daniel's been working with the cameras. He's also just excited. The sounds are just amazing, as you can see everyone lining up, the emotions building up, because this happens once a year, folks, where all the ASNs challenge each other to go and race, bringing Africa's fastest. For the first time ever, we have got multiple sims. But that being said, the king of the sims currently in Africa is Assetto Corsa Competizione. Last year, Jordan Sherritt won the crown and held it for 2024. For 2025, we will have a new name holding that crown to say they have won the victory, that they have moved forward through it all. And 42 of the toughest sim races you're going to slug it out with, ranging from Madagascar, Namibia, everywhere you can go, is lined up for one opportunity, one shot at the crown. Who's going to get it? And remember, we've got Pro and Pro-Am together. So your Pros are definitely the best you want to be. The Pro-Ams, well, you might not be that onto the quick side. You missed it out narrowly. And I had a chat to Paul Fenter. He said by 0.1 of a second separated Pro and Pro-Am. It is the closest he's seen a field in the amount of times. And now it all comes down to this. Rounding Crocodile, as they start to make their way to Cheetah. It's warming up those brakes, leaning on the brake pedal, just try and generate the heat that bleeds into the rim, bleeds into the carcass of the tire, getting it everything right. Looking at 100 degrees brake temperature needed to ensure you get running. Quick movements of the wheels just to scrub them in. And as you make your way to Ingwe, you will be informed. 70 kilometers an hour. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets wild. As we line ourselves up for the 2025 Africa Festival ACC PC. This is going to be wild. Philip Minot with Barkhazen on the front row. And Raleigh going and supporting it. He is in third place, representing, and gets underway as everyone launches off. Richard Bard moving forward for the Valkyrie performance, and it does look like Vian Fasaki going and getting a drive-through penalty a little bit further back, as we do see Minna holding the inside line, forcing Barkhazen out wide. And Raleigh also trying to capitalize on the moment. Immediately has Frobler on his tail as he tries to push on through. So this is going to be a tough fight. And we've got Brandon Kruger joining in for the fight as well, as it's the roar of the Mustangs leading out the charge. Well, you have got the likes of Jason Farmer, who's making his way through. On the top right of your screen, though, it is not the only fight on circuit, as we do have a number of drivers trying side by side through the sunset and into Clubhouse, and it is just all about neat braking. So far, only one car off, and that looks to be one of the McLarens that's landed off into the veld. That's landed way down. That looks to be Ruan van der Walt that may have gone all the way down the order. Unfortunately, not having a great run. But as we keep an eye on Brandon Kruger, trying his luck. This is Henry Platz a little bit further back. He is all over the back of Tiernas Buerta from the Pandassi team against the Omnius Gaming team. And this is going to be wild. They've been chased down by Jean Verveers in 18th position, leading out our Pro-Ams. Well, Daniel Buerta hoping to defend his place with the likes of Masaki right behind him, the Namibian, all going and fighting it out. But Brandon Kruger doing everything he can to stay on the back of Rolla.
This has been an absolutely incredible first lap. There's been action non-stop up and down our 40-car grid over here. And with 48 minutes, Stephen, you just have to process that. Same with the virtual grandstand. You have to process this. 48 minutes is all you have to try and fight for a crown, for a championship title here as the African champion of the MSA Africa Festival. 47 minutes. No pit stop strategy. A little bit of action there as Brandon Kruger is getting very argy-bargy there with Johan Kribler. You can see people are hungry for this win. And there's been a massive accident over there, unfortunately, off onto the side of the track. Thankfully, both cars on the track, Juan Verveers and Kalen Mauer, might have been some contact in between the two of them, but thankfully, like we mentioned, off track, not too much of a yellow flag territory that we need to enter there. But Dino here has been bumped down a little bit. He's trying to get up into this fight of here. Johan Kribler backing off a little bit after being bounced around by Brandon Kruger, now gets overtaken again by the likes of Dino Kier, and now he's got Michael Donaldson from 12th to 8th in one lap. Michael Donaldson now on the back of Johan Kribler. Dino Kier fighting up, getting really close to the likes of Jason Farmer. This is constant action. The Ferraris are trying to fight it out. A couple of Mustangs separate them from behind and from front, and they are going to begin to close in on this gap. We've only got a couple of cars that have broken away from our main chain link, number 38, as you can see, limping a little bit towards the back of the grid on our track map. But where the action lies right now is here in front of us, as we are trying to watch. And currently Mondre Klaassen looks like he's also gotten the jump on Johan Kribler. He's really starting to struggle in that Mustang. He started up in 3rd, just in front of Brandon Kruger, now down to 10th after squabbling with him a little bit. Now the teammate of Brandon Kruger just behind him of Johan Blipnote will push onto the back of him. Double Mustang fighting going all along here. Mondre Klaassen in front of them as well. Coming out of the pit lane though is one of our McLaren drivers, and I believe having to coming to the pit stops after a little bit of front damage. Stephen, I believe that's the McLaren you mentioned as you saw.
Ron van der Walt.
And that is Ron van der Walt, who has fallen off a little bit, but coming out in the middle of the pack is now going to be in back market territory. And the blue flag, as you can see on the side of the track, is being waved as he has a long train of angry cars ready to fight for that crown. Just behind him, Dino Kier is pushing the absolute limits he can. Jason Farmer is feeling the pressure though. Everybody squirming left and right, and Michael Donaldson, you can see just behind, flashing his lights to get past that back marker. Thankfully, no inconvenience is caused, and Ron van der Walt, knowing how the blue flag works, allows everybody to get past quite swiftly, and no actions have to be played against him there. But there is constant fighting. Dino Kier will start to feel pressure from Michael Donaldson. That's exactly how GT3 racing works. The more you fight with the car in front of you and you aren't able to get past, the more you're actually slowing yourself down and actually opening up yourself for vulnerability. But looking back at the replay, here's Kalen Mauer, there's Juan Verveers, just a little bit of space that wasn't given. Kalen Mauer eats the wall. You can see the front bumper of that BMW M4 is gone. And Juan Verveers also pulling the car into the pit lane. It was just not meant to be there. A little bit too much action for all of them. Johan Kribler is still fighting with Johan Blipnote in front. Ruan Heineke's also managed to sneak in front of him. And my goodness, Stephen, this is going to be like this for the next 44 minutes. I hope you're ready, because there's not going to be 1 second of being able to take a breath. The action is on. Jono Wilson is here to provide it. The rest of the grid is here to provide it. This is going to be a fight down to the line for our championship.
It's going to be a great one. And Johan Kribler, who's just losing a bit of time at the moment, is now trying everything he can, as he's got Ruan Heineke going and making short work of him. Now to deal with Blipnote as he tries to fight back, locking up that inside, get us beautifully hooked in, and now Heineke needing to go on the little bit of a defense as we jump on board, looking at the rear wing. You can see Blipnote around the outside of Ruan Heineke, backed out of it though, and we immediately have a little bit of an interest from an Aston Martin. And that's Jono Wilson, who sends it up on the inside as we got just in the camera shot. He got the pass down and does it. Jono Wilson now on the charge to chase down Ruan Heineke ahead of him. And the Beach 10 AMR is doing everything possible to keep himself in this race, despite being one of the older cars on the grid. The old 2018 chassis of the Aston Martin V8. I mean, this is just absolutely wild, but he has got a lot of work on his hands, and it does look like Henry Platt also starting to step up the train and pulling along Van der Sat behind him, hoping that they can be part of a bit of a tow as well. Let's quickly go to a replay, and this is through Cheetah, runs out a little bit wide. Oh, major contact there, throwing the cars off into the felt, and that is Anthony Monitz, who got a knock on the door, the number 4 BMW, unfortunately, down the order, and will need to try and figure out the next strategy plan. But I do want to point out, though, Philip Minnaert leads out the pack with fastest lap time of a 1:40.7. Second is Bernard Barkhuizen, and Raleigh all the way out from Madagascar. And who says the Madagascans are just keeping it relaxed? Because at the moment he is showing he likes to move it and is running in that top 3, 1.5 seconds behind Bernard Barkhuizen. That is incredible stuff. We're seeing some of the best from all over going and duking out. We've got Orifime all the way from Nigeria, hoping he can keep up the momentum as he's got Stain chasing him down with that Aston Martin, keeping in the slipstream as they let Jean Fafiers just a little bit ahead start breaking away, and he's going to have to really dig deep to keep it going through the likes of Sunset into Clubhouse, hard on the anchors. But man, oh man, the MDK Motorsports can be quite proud of their drivers sitting within the top 20.
Yeah, this is some absolutely incredible performance. But let's have a look at a bit of a replay here. Fighting through, this looks like a GSRT driver, and fighting his way through with the number 41. Oh, just trying to cut up on the inside there, going up towards Sunset and not finding the space. That's our number 7 driver of Rob van der Heever, just not finding it, unfortunately, getting a little bit of argy-bargy contact. And I mean, Stephen, there we go. We've had one victim being claimed by Cheetah. You saw that Ferrari. It grew a pair of wings and it flew. That Cheetah curb is not here to mess around, and it can happen throughout the rest of this race. So drivers have to be careful about that. With 41 minutes left to go, though, Philip Minnaert leads with a 4.5 second gap to Bernard Barkhuizen, one of the fastest drivers that we've seen internationally, competing with loads of drivers across the globe, is here to fight it out. Michael Donaldson started 12th in this race, up into 7th already, and Evert de Goede unfortunately finding the wall, and so with the Kirby Theron getting a little bit intertwined with Waynon Brevis. And big action there, just a little bit of an unsafe rotation there. Rob van der Heever gets caught again, second time this lap. Anthony Moritz manages to get around him, but did get inconvenienced there around the outside. Wow, oh wow, Stephen, the contact is unfortunately happening due to the amount of pressure these drivers are putting on themselves. They are pressuring themselves to the absolute final moments to try and get this crown going between Pro and Pro-Am, yeah, and they're really putting the pressure on each other. Henk Pieterse now on the back of Duarte, coming into Sunset as they wrap it around, trying to find the traction, which car can rotate it as fast as they can. It's McLaren versus Ferrari, both your mid-engine fighters, and who will come out on top. We've got a huge mixed grid of cars here that are consistently fighting with each other, and each car, like we mentioned, there is a BOP currently applied, a balance of performance, and this is the LFM balance of performance that's applied, meaning that all cars, like Stephen mentioned earlier, have relatively equal playing field. Obviously, all cars will still have minor differentiations, such as your front engines to your mid engines to your rear engines. Rear engines, we actually only have about 4 cars running on this track which are rear engines. That's all 4 of your Porsche drivers. The rest of the cars, either your front or your mid-engine drivers. But Henk Pieterse is not stopping here. The number 27 Ferrari will keep on pushing. He's now got Tinus Buerta in front of him, as there's been a bit of a switch around. Duarte gets past Buerta, but now a little bit further on is Oluwafemi in 27th for the Ford Performance, fighting it out with Theron and into the likes of Crocodile and then into Cheetah. Let's hope we don't claim another victim here, because we do not want that. But it looks like Oluwafemi is going to hold this position ahead of Theron. And coming to Cheetah now, let's see, can we keep it nice and clean? A little bit of safety barrier being given from these drivers. You can see a couple of them are a little bit scared of that inside curve. It can cause damage. Mondre Klaassen now in a bit of a train as well. He's got Donaldson in front. He's got Krubler, who is trying to get back up to where he was behind them. Gribler currently sitting in 9th, trying to fight back up to the podium where he started. He's got a couple of cars in front of him though. Mondre Klaassen, a driver who we know will not back down until it is those final bearing moments. Someone who has got great defensive skill. In front of him as well, Michael Donaldson, insane defensive skills between the two of them. And they are very provisioned racers. They know what they're doing. Everybody here knows what their mission is, and it's going to be a hard fight over here for people who are trying to climb back up. For the likes of Johan Gribler, he's really going to have to try and find it. But let's have a look at a replay here. This looks like our number 41 Mustang. Trying to come around. That's through Crocodile. Oh, this was the before, into the side of Theron. He's currently rotated around. Looks to see if he can pull the car around. Pulls around a little bit too early, and he finds Rob van der Heever. And that was the incident we saw a little bit earlier on cam. A little bit of a replay shot from the aerial cam. Man, oh man, it is unfortunate to see when things like that happen, especially at a blind corner like Cheetah, where you cannot see some of the drivers coming past you.
Now, Thane Brews just not having an easy time out there. He's down in 39th position on the run through. It's got Timothy Pillay that will be trying to catch him, and Ruben van der Walt, who is currently in pit lane. But as we take a look, Mondre Klaassen switching it out from the usual Porsche that he tends to enjoy driving to more front engine, getting into the Mustang, constantly hounding. But now I've got to ask the question, Tristan, and this is one concerning factor that's going to stay in the running. Why are they going to push so hard at the start, killing off those tires? And I quickly just take a look to the right of me. I see Christian just shaking his head, knowing that the tire drop-off is going to be quite a awesome one to deal with. So lots of drivers deciding to take the big heavy Mustang. It's got great top end to it, but what is it going to happen to the tires over the course of the long run? Brandon Kruger finally closing up that gap to Raleigh, and now looks to take the fight to the Madagascan driver as they go and charge on. And they got Bernard Barkhuizen just ahead, just within sniffing distance, but these three are in a great chase, while Philip Minnar, who was one of our quicker drivers in 2024, nearly won it. Jordan Sherritt walked away ultimately at the end, winning the 2024 crown. Philip Minnar has come back for blood and wants to ensure he holds the crown for 2025. Tienes Puerta, the Pandassi team, he is on a great run as he goes up on the inside of Duarte. Down the hill they go, down the mine shaft, moves across the nose just to keep it all in order. But Duarte, the Mozambican driver, is not going back down from this, sending it down into Crocodile, late on the anchors, and it's absolutely everything that's required just to slow the GT3s down. But Tienes Puerta now starting to open up that gap. Duarte having to deal with Ulrich de Jager behind him, and Henk Pieterse that will slowly but surely see the mistakes going and happening, the little fall-offs that is starting to be shown by the drivers as time starts to tick over. 35 minutes and 50 seconds to go, and I can tell you that it is still wild out there. Our grandstands are absolutely loving it, but every single one of the drivers are pushing themselves that extra little bit. Jean Fiers going and leading out our Pro-Ams as De Jager is fighting pros. Duarte is second of our Pro-Ams, and now in a fight with a pro, and that is no easy feat to just talk about. We've got a Pro-Am driver who is giving it everything he's got and absolute gears to the pro drivers. Ulrich de Jager, who qualified pro during the seeding, is now going head-to-head with an international driver all the way out from Mozambique, who's going and showing him, listen, I'm walking away with this. I want to go for the Pro-Am win here, and you are not going to catch me backing out of this.
Yeah, I mean, currently Duarte has got a massive opportunity here. Obviously, he's got Johan de Beers a little bit further up, though, in 16th. He's really in the middle of the pack there for the pros versus Pro-Ams, and he is trying to hold on as much as he can. But anything can happen in a race like this, and Duarte could, in the next 34 minutes, pull up those seconds and potentially have himself a fight for the Pro-Am lead of this race. Johan Gribler manages to get past Mondre Klaassen, fights around the outside of that pink Mustang. Now he's got another challenge in front of him. Michael Donaldson, also known for his great defending, is going to be in front of him. Differentiation here. Here we go. The Mustang actually makes a huge dive up on the inside, uses the top speed of the car compared to the Ferrari, but here comes the Ferrari's acceleration and rotation. once again up climbing on the outside, now onto the inside, and oh, a little bit of bumper to bumper contact there. Everybody fighting it out. Mondre Klaassen sees the opportunity and pushes in front. Now it's a squabble between Donaldson and the likes of Klaassen, and unfortunately Kribbler's been pushed out of this fight. Once again, here comes the Ferrari's rotation. You can see how it grips slightly better than the Mustang, getting ahead just before the corner, but now the Mustang having the inside line. Joining behind the fight, Ruan Heineke as well as Johan Bluchnoot. This is a 5-car train, and the battle for 7th is definitely on here. Everybody bumper to bumper, trying to get that slipstream activated as much as possible, especially as we head down into Mineshaft, where you're going to catch a lot of speed. A little bit further down though, Jono Wilson is going to seize this opportunity. He sees the 5 cars in front of him, fighting it out to the absolute heart's desire. He's going to see the opportunity and find a way to join in that fight. He's already closing in behind the likes of Johan Bluchnoot, and there we have a 6-car fight for 7th position. Mondre Klaassen though will still be fighting, as Ruan Heineke now still in the middle of the pack, trying to find a way around Donaldson. Donaldson has lost out from Klaassen, having the slightly better top speed on that Mustang, but he might be able to fight it through once we get back to our mid-sector here at Kyalami, known to be better for the mid-engine cars, having the rotation advantage. And Ruan Heineke now with the Mustang behind him. Who's going to have the better toe? Here comes the Mustang, the better top speed versus the car with the better cornering, already up onto the inside. Here comes the Mustang pulling down the straight, and you can see how he just flies by with that slight advantage on top speed. Johan Bluchnoot dives onto the inside, almost makes it 3 wide into Crawthorne. We've seen the 3 wide fight happen before. Most of the time it doesn't end well. Johan Bluchnoot realizes, hold on, he might jeopardize 1 or 2 people's races here, and decides to pull the car in, but he does get the inside line. Ruan Heineke has been forced out by 2 Mustang drivers. Being dominated on the main straight, and unfortunately has lost out. Rosina Relay now into 3rd position, like we mentioned, still fighting it out, is trying to close in on Barkhazen, but Brandon Kruger, the big green Mustang behind him, is closing in slowly but surely. Dino Kia will also eventually join this fight if the fighting becomes a little bit too claustrophobic here, and this is going to be a constant pull. We don't have advantage differential in these cars. All 3 of them, same manufacturer, same class. It's a Ford Mustang GT3. They're all going to drive the same. All that comes down to these 3 racing here is the setup choice and the driver's skill level and awareness. This is going to come down. Bernard Barkhazen, known for doing incredibly well. He's won some amazing tournaments in his life, but he has had a bit of a break from sim racing to also spend a little bit more time in person with family. Now he's back to challenge. Brandon Kruger, a seasonal champion who's also had a lot of wins under his name and loads of weekly racing, is here. And Nirasena Relay, like we mentioned, the competitor from overseas, is here also to make his mark stand. 3 Mustangs head down into Crawthorne. This is going to be an extreme one. We have to keep our eyes out. Unfortunately, Minar has run away. 8.8 seconds of the gap with 30 minutes left to fight. We're going to need a miracle here to pull him back so that they can fight for the championship. Otherwise, Minar has already started to run away with the fastest lap as well. But the key points here is, here we go. Kruger might have had a better run there. The likes of Relay did touch the grass a little bit and lost a slight bit of speed. But these cars, like we mentioned, equal performance. It is going to come down to how you drive your car. Brandon Kruger trying to find a way around the Mustang ahead. It's not going to be an easy one. And this is going to give Barkhazen a little bit of gap to breathe and try and pull himself away, because Kruger is getting closer to the rear view. You can see it there on the back wing of Relay, and it is getting closer and closer action between the top, the second, third, and fourth drivers over here. Dino Kia, 4.5 seconds. It is closing, but not by much per lap. 30 minutes left of racing, and this has been extreme already. Loads of action up and down our grid, but the battle for third is definitely on.
I've got to say, Relay, being the Madagascan driver, has competed in numerous races across in LFM. They've gone and seen him do very, very well in Madagascar. First time taking on the South Africans in the soil, and gotta give him his due. He's putting in a huge effort here to go and battle it out. Currently running in third, going after that second place, putting the hammer down, but the front tires just not gripping up the way he wants it to. As we also do see on the top, it's Johan Krobler who's fighting it out with Bluchnoot and loses a little bit of time immediately. Ruan Heineke having a go at him. So we have got multitude of battles all around the circuit. Jono Wilson going in, crawling in for the fight. This is going to be an absolutely wild one. But for Relay, it is a matter of doing it for his country. This is going to be exciting through the end. I've got to say, I am really, really loving it. I mean, I can't tell you, this is just a proper race. Grobler, unfortunately, just dropping down the order. He's in the top 10 still, but with Heineke hot on the heels, he's going to have to battle out. That entire grid's getting quite busy as well, but we're watching our top 3 on the main screen. I mean, this is second, third, and fourth. This is the final 2 spots on the podium, and fourth place that is sniffing, looking for it. Back markers are going to come into play now as we're starting to run first into our Porsches. That will be going and keeping busy. And does look like we have Stephen Madd, unfortunately, going into the dirt, gets himself going, but he will have to wait it out as the entire field starts to come through. This is where it's going to get wild, and this is where it's about positioning your car. Philip Minnaar, with that little bit of breathing room that he's opened up at the start of the race, is going to help him out now, because it is going to start to lose a little bit of time in the long go. So Philip Minnaar has to keep his head on a swivel a little bit further back. This is 16th. This is Jean Verveers leading out our Pro-Ams, pushing up against the likes of Daniel Buerta. And Buerta is doing everything he can to stay in for the fight. That McLaren is not losing a beat at the moment. He's hoping to just keep on circling by, keep those tires alive, and maybe on the later parts of the race be able to go for the passes. We will start to see that as time goes on. But we've got Henk Pedersen for the Trail Bullets, and Brandon Kruger actually getting around. That looks like he's managed to get around Rella. So Rella down into fourth place, lost out a bit of time behind our back markers, and Brandon Kruger got the pass done and dusted. And it looks like Barkhuizen has got clean up the road. So, well, these two must have been fighting. Barkhuizen decided to put pedal to the metal and absolutely leave at this point. Now it's all about trying to fight their way all the way through the S's. Beautifully done. Keep it nice and tight. And it does look like Brandon Kruger, no real room for the Ferrari, that had to just dive off into the dirt just to protect himself. And that was Stan Bezeno, who just took a deep breath at that precise moment, realizing, whew, okay, that was close. Let's try not to do that again. As we see Hannes van der Sat going and fighting out with Henry Platt and chasing him down. Looks to keep on the toe. Looks for the inside line. Can't quite do it. Yes, going to attempt it though. Is racing with the Aston Martins. Not ideal. Both going a bit sideways. And Hannes van der Sat realizing not quite the way to do it. Does slow down. Give back the position to Henry Platt. But that has allowed likes of Daniel Buerta and Jean Verveers to make up a bit of ground. So a bit of the unwritten rule of sim racing coming in, where you do wait up for the drivers just to return the position if you know you've done something wrong. It's more of a gentleman aspect. Doesn't protect you from the rules getting thrown at you, but definitely will give you a crack of the nod from your fellow drivers.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you mentioned, unwritten rule, meaning that the stewards might still come at you for whatever you did, but it is a gentleman's agreement. It's good sportsmanship, and it might save you 1 or 2 arguments back in the pit wall once the race is over. So good sportsmanship being shown there from Hannes van der Sant in the We Are Pace. And I believe the 2 drivers, Hannes van der Sant and Kalen Mao, are currently representing the We Are Pace guys. And like Stephen mentioned, console drivers, We Are Pace coming from the GT7 side as well as ACC console, now throwing their hats in to ACC PC to challenge the PC drivers. But Johan Grobler is still on that charge. 25 minutes left of racing. Michael Donaldson has swapped while he's been ahead still of Johan Bluknoot. The 2 of them have been fighting. Oh, and contact actually. Johan Grobler just not finding it there with the likes of Johan Bluknoot, and he eats the wall there. The Mustang driver, unfortunately, oh my goodness, that is damage. Johan Bluknoot, what happened to Johan Bluknoot? That looks like he completely let go of the wheel there and just floored it into the wall.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one. Maybe the damage to the front suspension went and caused it uncontrollable at that point. Your steering is completely hooked at a 90-degree angle, and you battle it out to try and do it. But there's a couple of people that are going to be smiling for a few positions gained. Jono Wilson going to be smiling at the moment as he's battling it out behind Ruben Heineke. The Griffin Sim Racing Ferrari going in, making sure Jono Wilson of the Beach Den AMR is having to work for his money at this point, with Michael Donaldson running in 8th position. Has got a bit of breathing room as they close up on one of our back Porsches. That just gives a little bit of room, swaps to the inside line just to allow the drivers to come through. They're not wanting to be too involved with any problems, as we do see Krobler has gone back to the pits to ensure that he can get the car sorted out. Bit of late braking as Jono trying to go around the outside of Ruin Heineke, swaps back for the inside. They do have, unfortunately, our little Porsche of Steven Mad landing up into the dirt, now rejoining the circuit, trying to get himself going. Steven Mad down in 31st position, is now caught in a bit of a monstrous battle behind him as well. We got Kirby Turon though for the Velp Racing in his little Porsche and on an absolute charge, lying in 25th position, 5 points out of the likes of our top 20, and there is a shot. You know, we always talk about sim races with the high-end gear and that you have to have the motion rigs and VR and all that. Well, the gentleman has got himself a beautiful chair, so he's the most comfortable sim racer out there. And, well, when you go and get a rest after the race, bed's right behind it, but it's absolutely great to see. And you can see the concentration going in, the amount of effort of going and stamping onto the brakes. I bet he's got load cells there. He's having to really stamp hard on the brakes, create a big point of everything's there, and bleed off nice and gently. Just get that trail braking. 70 kilos of force, and then come off that brake just to ensure that you get going. Daniel Buerta, though, is on hot charge with Van der Sut just ahead of him, and Henry Platt just a little bit of hands reach out of them. Gotta say, Jean Verveers, who's hanging on the tail, leading out our Pro-Ams with Henk Peters, the second of our Pro-Ams, and Duarte, third of our Pro-Ams. So at one point of this race, we had 2 out of South Africa drivers that were sitting in the top 3. Now we've got one. Duarte going and heralding all the way out from Mozambique, one of our only Mozambique drivers in this field, and is putting in a huge amount of effort to represent his country in the best way possible. Gotta say, absolutely loving the action.
I kind of find it weird. I mean, the fact we just had a look, obviously, at the Ron setup. Why did that look more comfortable than a standard rig? That looks like I could sit in that and race an enduro. And yeah, that actually just, it brings up the point of how sim racing is such a versatile and open hobby. Like, sometimes, yes, the barrier of entry into this hobby can be high. You've got loads of high-end equipment that's been released. You've got, obviously, Moser that's come in as one of the newer brands for sim racing. And, you know, it does raise the price, but you can start low. And you can really start from scraps. Obviously, not mentioning that the Ron is driving on scraps, but I mean, that chair, not a sim racing chair, but he looks like he's comfortable. He looks like he's ready to put some action on the back of another car. But currently, Richard Bard, also nice little camera in the bottom corner over there, some nice gloves that he's being represented as well, some Alpine stars. And as you can see, the differentiation between rigs, some people managing to come out with a quite high-end equipment, others rocking some lower-end equipment, and that's the joy of sim racing. You can literally grab what you can. If you've got the minimum requirements, you can come, you can enter yourself into the MSA Africa Festival. If you're seeing this and you're in the virtual grandstand and you think your equipment isn't good enough, you better be there for the MSA Africa Festival 2026, because nobody cares if you're racing on a wooden chair. You can do it in anything possible. As long as you can get the car out there and you can compete, welcome on to the hobby. But currently, Michael Donaldson is still finding it a little bit difficult to get back around Monterey Classen. Like we mentioned, both of them high defensive skill between the two, the Mustang versus the Ferrari, the top end versus the better rotation car, and he's just finding it hard to gather the grip on the Mustang. But we do have to remember something important. The Mustang, quite a little bit heavier than the Ferrari. It's a little bit bigger. The V8 is also a heavier engine compared to the V6, and around 20 minutes left now. We've had 25 minutes gone. We are past halfway mark around about at this point, but we are going to see drop-off. Now, how drastic the drop-off, only time can tell. We're not going to know exactly how these cars perform. Again, it's going to come to how well these drivers can manage their cars under wear conditions. But the Ferrari has noticeably, in its history now of racing against the Mustang, has had better statistics in terms of tire wear, as well as fuel consumption, having the V6 compared to the V8. So we'll have to see how it comes down to the line for them. But currently, the two Aston Martins, Henry Platt, Hannes van der Sand, these two have been at each other neck and neck for the past couple of laps, trying to show which Aston is the faster Aston. Obviously, early on in the previous laps, they did have a little bit of argy-bargy contact, but good sportsmanship shown, back on top of each other, trying to find out who can get in front, and it's constant action all around. Finding the braking zone, a little bit of different driving styles as you can see there. Hannes van der Sand trying to see where he can gain some time on plat. Goes up on the inside line, attempts to do a switchback, but just not finding the way around the Aston Martin in front. And Henry Platt almost having a major moment there. We can just see through the cockpit camera of Hannes van der Sand, and that's given him the run onto the main straight now, and unfortunately just slotting in as they gather their grip, and Henry Platt thankfully getting a little bit better grip out of the final corner there on Ingwe and manages to stick in front. But that was almost a scary moment for the Omnius Gaming driver, coming across Cheetah and almost losing the rear end on the grass there, and the wear is going to play into that, especially in your bigger V8 cars, heavier. The rear wheels are going to experience it. Hannes van der Sand finds one of the Kyalami notorious curbs and almost loses the car. He's given Henry Platt some breathing room, and now Daniel Buerta finds the inside line around him, and here comes the likes of another one of the drivers that looks like Johan Verveers, also trying to find it around with the Trail Bullets team, trying to get around another pro driver. Again, emphasizing the fact that the pro-am drivers are not here to sit at the back and get lapped over and over. They're here to put pressure, and like Steven mentioned, 0.001 of a second difference between the drivers. But now on board once again, this was Daniel Buerta, I believe, a little bit further on behind, fighting a couple of cars in front of him, dives up on the inside of Leo Korp, and contact there, unfortunately, I believe, with either Henk Pieterse or Johan Verveers, one of the two Trail Bullets racing drivers. But that was Henk Pieterse, yeah. So very, very close action coming now. 17 minutes left of racing, and Michael Donaldson still cannot find the way around the Mustang driver in front of him. He's going to have to use his car's advantage and hope for the best that the Mustang is going to start struggling in the upcoming laps.
Now it's going to be incredible stuff, and remember, there's still the drivers that have to cross the line. There is a draw at the end of the race, and we get to see who of the drivers wins that haptic feedback that is supplied by SimCave, which is absolutely great to have them on board, going and being a part of the whole show. And as you were pointing out, Michael Donaldson and the likes of Mordred Claessens, they are also representing two esport organizations that have fought it out between one another across various different games and FPSs and everything really that they've gone at it, which is fantastic to see esports organizations starting to take sim racing a little bit more seriously, as we do see Donaldson tries around the outside and Mordred Claessens really leaning on the right hand, saying if you're going to go for it, you better stern it. A little bit of argy-bargy between the two, but still managing to pull themselves back. There's no pull of punches here. This is close racing throughout it all, and I've got to say, incredible stuff. While we were talking about it, we've also seen Duarte down in 19th position. He is now second of our Pro-Ams, and that is our Mozambican driver that is doing it. The only Mozambican driver in the ACC grid for the PC, and he is second of the Pro-Ams, showing off what he can do, which is absolutely incredible stuff. Rolai down in 4th position. He was in 3rd, still putting in a huge amount of effort, and he has got the support of the Madagascans shouting over and saying go, go, go at this point. Quinten Jans van Rensburg of the KSI Quantum all over Govensani just ahead of him as they push on, hoping to just close the gaps down. And they do have Jean van der Venter also creeping in with the Aston Martin, ensuring they can stay in for the fight, as well as Quinten Jans van Rensburg is a pro stacked into a field amongst Pro-Ams at current. This is all turning into a bit of a wild run. We got to remind though, for you guys that haven't entered the draw at the bottom, there is a draw for 1,500 Rand gaming, a Sparko gaming voucher. All you need to do is fill in the links below, follow all the T's and C's there, and aces bases, you're off to the races. But Mordred Claessens losing out to Michael Donaldson, and now it's going to be a right pain to try and work through a bit of traffic. Mordred Claessens has an opportunity to try and bottle up Donaldson up against the cars. If Donaldson gets a little bit too aggro in his approaches, he may have a bit of an issue of the back markers not really going and doing what is being done now. So in the rulebook, it says that any of blue flags are to remain on their line, and it's up to the car overtaking to get past. It's for the slower car to facilitate the pass, as we do see Kalen Mauer trying to get himself going. We also see Pillay down at the bottom and he's got to drive through. So Timothy Pillay not having an easy time out there. Dino Kier up into 5th place, into the top 5, really putting the hammer down as he's got the Madagascan driver just ahead of him. He wants to, or the Mozambican driver just ahead of him, and wanting to stay ahead. Sorry, that is a Madagascan. Well, I do apologize, but saying it, and I still forget it. Dino Kier, though, going and keeping the pressure up, is a driver that is insistent to be the best in Africa. He wants to be versing the best, and now has an opportunity to do so, and squaring up against one of our drivers coming over from Madagascar, being part of the fight and absolutely sticking it for an absolute run. Dino Kier kept those tyres going. Is it going to be enough at the end? So this is what happened to Callum Pace. Oh, clipped the curb up through Yuxgay, heading into barbecue, gets it turned round by the old pits and swings the nose in. Now it's a bit of a missing opportunity to see where you are. You're going to have to trust the relative. Here in sim racing, thankfully we got a relative that acts as your spotter. Take a look on your screen, see where the guys are, get moving. Hannes van der Sat, though, has got Buerta ahead of him, and Jean Verveers, leader of our Pro-Ams, hunting him down.
That was almost a major scare for Oratile in 16th position. You could see when Caleb Mauer lost the BMW, the Porsche driver almost had nowhere to go when the BMW was performing a bit of a spin in the middle of the track, but thankfully pulling off slightly to the left and allowing Oratile to get around on the outside. But Hannes van der Sant is not going to let go. He's unfortunately had a little bit of a rough patch over the past couple of laps. He has lost out his fight to Henry Platt, but he does have Daniel Buerta in front of him, and it is for position in the same class. This is the Pro versus Pro. Obviously, Johan Verveers is behind in Pro-Am, but it doesn't mean he's not allowed to fight. The Pro-Am driver is equally involved in this as anybody else is, and he is definitely in the fight right now for overall 14th, but in terms of class, first place currently for Johan Verveers. Up onto the inside line, here comes Hannes van der Sant into Crocodile and manages to hold the inside. Will he have the better exit? Unfortunately not. And Daniel Buerta just finding that acceleration on the McLaren a little bit better than the Aston Martin V8 again. Fighting it out in front just with the McLaren putting pressure, but now the Aston Martin will have slightly better top speed. Is it going to be a dive into Crawthorne? Is it going to be a monumental moment here for Hannes van der Sant? Will he be behind Henry Platt again, or will he be blocked on the inside line? Will it be a late move? Looking into Crawthorne, sticks behind his opponent and rather doesn't risk anything. Unfortunately, not getting as close as he anticipated to, and he's going to have to keep on fighting. With 11 and a half or so minutes left of racing here, it is now getting to a worrisome time left in this race. If you're fighting for position here, now is your time to put the foot down, get the rear end to communicate with you. You have to start becoming a tire whisperer here. You have to start to be friendly to that car. If you've been angry with the car, it's time to stop. You've got 11 minutes left. You need to be nice with your car, otherwise it is going to throw you under the bus. Johan Kröbler down to 34th. So something happened with Johan Kröbler. Unfortunately, it was not caught on camera, but Johan Kröbler started this race in 3rd, down to 10th after a bit of a fight, now 34th in this race. So unfortunately, a little bit of contact or something happened to him. He's about to be lapped now from our race leader, but currently the fighting is on, because guess what? Dino Kier, the driver from GT7 console who's made his way over to ACC Racing in PC, is here to show who's boss. The Madagascan driver will have Dino Kier right on the backside now with 10 minutes left of racing. This is where it's going to come down to those final pinnacle moments. This is where we mentioned the Mustang might struggle being the heavier car. The tire load, the tire wear is going to be felt a lot more than the Ferrari drivers are going to be feeling in their slightly lighter cars. This is where the time is going to come for action to be made up and down our grid. We got 4 Mustangs leading the race, but just behind them is a good train of Ferraris that could potentially have better wear coming into the final part of this race. We're going to have to keep on action here. As you can see, just on the backside of Nurasana Relay is the likes of Dino Kier, and he's not going to let go. Oh, unfortunately, as I mentioned there goes the fighting chance for the Madagascan driver. A drive-through penalty for track limits. That is so unfortunate.
You get 3 warnings to go and warn you, hey, you're abusing track limits here. Don't do it. the sim eventually gives you that drive-through after the warnings, and for Ole, that is such a gutting blow, but not counting him out of the top 10 as yet. He will serve that drive-through. He could still fight in for the top 10. But Philip Minnaar, who is leading out the pack, 9 minutes and 18 seconds to go, is absolutely flying. 24 laps in, and he is making his way through. Just ahead of him, might I add, is we've got Krobler that's ahead of him. Okay, Krobler is fighting it out, trying to make his way through the field. And at current, if I take a look at my timing monitor, Krobler is lying in 34th, trying to claw his way back. Ruan Heineke all over the back of Mordred Claessens, the Griffin Sim Racing team, up against the Pandacity team. And the Pandacity, this would be their first stand under correction from Werner Skuman, but I believe this is Pandacity's first time going and entering in the MSA competition, and is now fighting it out, which is just great to see. But Heineke wants to try and get closer to his teammate, who is Jason Farmer, lying up in 6th place. Everyone being notified that there is that drive-through penalty that is lurking around during the course of this race. So Mordred Claessens will be ensuring that he stays in for the fight and will keep pushing it a little bit further up the road. You can see the Mustang just constantly having those legs into Clubhouse, and it all switches up as immediately Ruan Heineke just has a better option. I mean, what do you pick, Ferrari or Ford at this place? I mean, we are seeing Ford versus Ferrari. There was a movie on it. We know of it in history at Le Mans. Well, we're getting to relive all that action in sim at Kyalami, which makes it better. It's not at a French circuit.
The flaming coming from Stephen Koenig over here, putting pressure. But this is literally, like we mentioned, the movie. There's been a movie on these two manufacturers because of how close they've always been in racing. Ford versus Ferrari. As you know, in the old days, Ford used to have your higher rev V10 high-pitch engines. Your Ford, that was your Ferraris. Your Fords used to have your slightly higher top-end speed, lower rev engines compared to the Ferraris, and they used to have slightly better engine reliability. Now, flashing into 2025, the fighting does not stop between these two manufacturers. Currently, as most would say, the Ford Mustang GT3 and the Ferrari 296 GT3 are two of your meta cars for ACC in 2025. Two of your foster cars on the grid. You can see it by choice how most of your drivers on grid will be either rocking a Ford or a Ferrari, and that's actually a great thing I've never even noticed, Stephen, is the fighting between these two things, these two manufacturers, and there's literally a movie based on them. I mean, that's actually incredible to see the fighting between the two manufacturers. But let's not count out some of the other manufacturers, because there are also the staggering Aston Martins who are putting pressure along the grid. Jono Wilson now into 10th, is a little bit further up in front of Henry Platt, and just on the back of Ruan Heineke is trying to fight for that top 10 finish. A little bit further though, on our replay cam is our Ford Mustang, the number 33 Ford Mustang, fighting it. He looks like that's Henry Platt behind him, and into the wall, unfortunately. That was a very fast-paced tail clip, very narrow avoidance, unfortunately, but at a speed like that, there is nothing you can do to control that car. Well over 160 kilometers an hour, something like that, desettling the rear end of your car will put you in a position where you cannot control what happens next. And that's exactly what happened to that Ford driver, planting the front nose into the wall. But I mean, just again, the reference, look at your track maps, the virtual grandstand. If you can look on the right side of your screen, the track map, that is the track map of Kyalami. It almost looks like a piece of food that is surrounded by ants, with the amount of drivers circulating around this grid. Constant action everywhere. You can see it at Crawthorne, you can see it at Leeuwkop, you can see it at Cheetah. There is everyone everywhere. Neresana Relay comes out of the pit lane, and like you mentioned, Stephen, still in a top 10 contendership over here, comes out from his drive-through to come into 6th position. So losing out from 3rd, now into 6th position. Still good fighting chance over here for him to try and bring it back. Obviously, 5 minutes of racing is left here. There's not too much he can do, but there is still that time to play with. Roland Steyn, the Genesis Esports Racing Club driver, will feel it shortly as Ulrich Diaker begins to close in slowly but surely on the backside of him. And now coming into the start-finish straight, coming out of Ingwe, the Aston is going to have the better top speed, but the McLaren will have the better acceleration coming out of that final corner. Who is going to be the one to make the late move over here? I guess we'll have to wait and see when that happens, because Ruan Heineke is in an action moment right now, just in front of him. Mordred Claessens and Jono Wilson. The fight for 7th with 4.5 minutes left of racing here is definitely on. Michael Donaldson has now pulled away, and I think what we can mention was true, Stephen. The Mustang is struggling. It is definitely struggling with tyre wear because it has lost out on pace from some of our Ferrari drivers. Now, Mondre Klaassen, who wasn't feeling pressure from Rowan Heineke, is now going side by side with him almost into Leerkorp. So now, tyre wear is becoming an issue. 4 minutes left. Brandon Kruger gets a drive-through penalty with 4 minutes left of racing, and he has just ruined his chances of finishing a podium position here. That is so unfortunate. Another track limit, like Stephen mentioned, 3 warnings, and after that the steward said that's enough. Drive-through penalty issued with 3 minutes left to go. That must be absolutely heartbreaking.
I'm wondering how close everyone else is to it as well, because this is getting into a bit of a wild moment as we do see Ruan Heineke still laying into the back of Mordred Klaassen's and Jono Wilson, throwing the kitchen sink at them as well. They are fighting it out for 7th, 8th and 9th. I mean, this is in the top 10, folks, that the guys are slugging it out and really pushing as hard as they can. I am absolutely smiling ear to ear as we do look to have lost the likes of Relay. He is not sitting in that top 10 anymore. I think we may have lost Relay out of this race, which would be terrible. Oh, it's unfortunate. I don't get to see him out on track. So it looks like we have lost Relay after that drive-through penalty. Something not going well, and unfortunately having to retire out of the race, but still fantastic job on his part, and I'm sure the entire Madagascan people will be cheering ear to ear on this. But Dean Norkia now has an opportunity to go for the 3rd place. He doesn't have to attack as hard anymore. He will be able to continue on the charge. There's a bit more room between himself and Jason Farmer, 11.8 seconds. So all he has to do is just sit back, wait for Brandon Kruger to get the drive through, and he stands on the podium for the Africa Festival, the 2025 Africa Sim Racing Festival that's challenged sim racers right through the entire African continent. Bring it on. We want to see you guys bring out everything you got. And so far, we've seen it all as Dean Norkia looks to put his nose in, second guesses it. He decides, nah, I'm not going to wait it out. Brandon Kruger's going to fight it out till the last. Remember, he's got that drive through that can throw him further down. The more space he can create now, the more he can sit within that top 10, but it'll be just at this point sliding the car around. Dean Norkia keeping it very, very easy, as we do see the likes of Bernard Barkhuizen now having to slot through a couple of back markers ahead of him. I mean, this is incredible stuff. 1 minute and 43 seconds to go, and Barkhuizen up on the inside of one of our BMW drivers. That is the number 36 that he's just gone past, and beautiful pass. Richard Bod going and allowing the pass to happen. Fantastic stuff on his part, and good to see that constant effort to just keep moving up through the order.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, but with 1.5 minutes left to go, it is almost time to crown our championship, and unfortunately it isn't going to be one of those moments where we get to watch 2 people side by side fighting for a crown. Unfortunately, it does look like Philip Mina is going to be crowning this one, because 25 seconds of a gap between him and Bernard Barkhuizen comes across now, and this will be, I believe, the start of his final lap. With 1 minute left to go, around about a 1 minute and 40-second lap time. This should be his last lap of circulating around the circuit, but the action is not going to be on Philip Mina. He's got the gap. We need to look down the grid for people who are still fighting for position. Jono Wilson is on the backside of Mondre Klaassen, and like we've mentioned, he's gotten ahead of Ruan Heineke, and now he needs to try and fight a little bit more to get in front. And we have actually just lost Brandon Kruger, because I cannot see him on the timing sheet. The drive-through actually went missing, and I thought he served it, but he's actually lost connection to the server.
Jono Wilson! Oh, Ruan Heineke!
Okay, so Jono Wilson getting a little bit... Oh, that is so unfortunate, man. Just touching onto Cheetah and getting a little bit loose and coming back onto track. Ruan Heineke not being able to escape anywhere else on circuit. Gets clobbered by Jono Wilson. That is so unfortunate to see. But now, coming around, we have to keep eyes out onto the top part of the track over here. Bernard Barkhuizen will come into second position, still holding it off. But our first place with the fastest lap 255 competition driver, the number 32 Ford Mustang of Philip Mina, will be pulling it around track to finish off in first position if he keeps it up here. No more mistakes, a little bit of grass touching there, but he will come across to Ingwe. And for the 2025 year, the second time running of MSA Africa Festival, he didn't get it last year, but he gets it this year. Philip Minnaar is crowned as the champion for PC ACC Racing for the MSA Africa Festival. Bernard Barkhuizen has been pushing to his heart's content, to the absolute final straws and the final moments of this race, and he will come across in second. Dino Kia not far behind at all. The Ferrari having the better in-game pace and less tire wear will come across, but Bernard Barkhuizen ensures himself a second. Dino Kia comes across in third. Jason Farmer will come across in fourth position, a little bit further down though, as we wait for everybody to still escalate around track. And I'm sure there's loads of fighting still coming around track, but currently Mondre Klaassen sits in sixth position. Unfortunately, having a bit of a tussle there with Jono Wilson. He did capitalize on no longer being under pressure, and now will come to cross the line in sixth. Michael Donaldson takes fifth. Farmer takes fourth. Klaassen will take sixth position. Ron Heineke just a little bit further behind. They were on top of each other, but like we mentioned, after a little bit of accidents coming into play, things did change. Ron Heineke takes seventh. Henry Platt takes eighth position. Hannes van der Sant is also going to take ninth. Tinus Buerta, Daniel Buerta, and Johan Viviers, all of them fighting, but here comes our Pro-Am winner of Johan Viviers to take the win for the Pro-Am division, 12th overall. Still an incredible finish. And Oratile will come across in 13th. Ulrich de Jager will come across in 14th. Ronald Steyn will come across in 15th. And the likes of Dylan Duarte will come across second place in Pro-Am division to finish it off strong in 16th. Just behind him, Henk Pieterse to cross it off in third for our Pro-Am championship. What a race it has been. Constant action up and down. My goodness, Stephen, that is insane.
I'm lost for words. I'm absolutely lost for words. 2024, we started this with Assetto Corsa Competizione on PC, inviting Africa. Jordan Sherritt took the win, and Philip Minnaar this year, 2025, takes the win and holds the crown. The second person to ever hold the crown, and it's a new driver. I mean, this is just absolutely fantastic. I'm blown away by the outstanding drivers we had going and racing from right through Madagascar, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, all being part of it. And we get to see them really give it everything they got. We got to see the drivers in Pro-Am duke it out. We got to see the fastest drivers in Africa for Assetto Corsa Competizione on PC. And I could tell you, I'm getting messages from Motorsport South Africa. They've been tuning in, excited about sim racing, excited about the racing that they've just witnessed with our PC side, just going wild with it. It's been tremendous, and we're looking forward to having a chat with those drivers as well. And man, oh man, I'm blown away by this. Incredible things. There's lots of thrills and spills and heartaches that have come through. But man, we got to see the fastest go and walk away. Philip Minnaar going 26.6 seconds ahead. Dominating win, but showing why he should hold that crown. And next year is where he's going to have to hold on to it again. And that is the exciting part. We also did talk about the beautiful prize that the drivers were going through, as we had all our drivers cross the line, and we have got the drivers also getting themselves sorted. We do have the likes of our winner, and we're going to let you guys know who that is, because drum roll please, that is Jean van der Venter, who wins the prize. Car number 15 that absolutely has done it. Crossed the line, won the prize, and is going to be happy. I've got to say, what a tremendous effort from his side. But with that being said, we have also got to talk to our winners of the race. And I've got to say, rather excited about it, because Philip Minnaar, our 2025 Africa Festival Assetto Corsa Competizione. Last year, you missed out on it. This year, dominating effort, stuck in for the win. How are you feeling, buddy? You are the proper king of this castle.
Hello, thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty chill. I had a very busy weekend yesterday. Oh, busy day yesterday. It's practice and kind of just hopped in for this race. But I mean, I'm so used to this track and this combo. So yeah, it was a nice race. Very very quiet on mine. Obviously, just a bit of a R-type session. Which win is a win, I guess. So I'm happy.
Well, I mean, to walk away with a crown that only two have ever held, which, well, you would be the second. Jordan Sherritt, your former teammate going in racing, and now you're getting to hold the crown as well. Talking through the grid, the nearly 50 cars, around 42 started this race. How was it navigating through the traffic and each of the individual battles that were going on? Because there was 2, 3, 4 cars, even up to 6 cars that were chasing each other down.
Yeah, you've always got to be careful with the back markers, because one small mistake or one miscalculation can screw up your whole race. So yeah, I just took it easy, overtaking back markers, made sure to keep my nose clean, and just anticipate, I guess, what's happening in front of me.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Well, you've got the entire Africa taking a look and taking note of you. Anything you'd like to say to our amazing partners that have been part of the entire show, to all that are in the virtual grandstands, the fans, the petrol heads, the families, friends, drivers, all tuning in to get to see that incredible moment of you taking the crown for the second ever Africa Festival.
Yeah, obviously thanks to all the event organizers and administrators in the background, behind the curtain, making this show possible. I know it's a lot of work and people don't really realize how much work it is. And also just a thank you to all my sponsors, Go Setups, Case King, LFM, and Synchmesh, the gloves I used today. Amazing gloves. And yeah, I think it was a really good event, and yeah.
Honestly, great stuff, and I'm looking forward to the racing going forward. But Philip Minot, congratulations, you hold the crown. Tristan, any final words from your thoughts to, well, the fastest in Africa for 2025?
Well, I mean, one of the main things, obviously, congratulations once again. It's something that not many get to say, but you are the champion of South Africa. Obviously, you are a noteworthy person, someone who lots know to have loads of pace, especially in the international scene, but you've officially done it. Last year, like we mentioned, fighting out with Jordan Sherritt, but this time you've crowned it, you've taken it, and I just wanted to say an absolute well done, a great job, and let's see if you can do it for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try my best.
Absolutely incredible. But that was our interview then with our first place runner-up, and he did a phenomenal job to bring it home. But now moving over to our second place, and also incredible job from this driver. Like we mentioned, the driver who has had his fair share of sim racing, but also has been slightly off scene for the past couple of weeks and months, rather focusing on some other things, and still coming into the MSA Africa Festival and taking second place with a lot of fighting happening behind him. He crowns it off, he takes it up in second place. Bernard Barkhuizen, it is good to see you back in the commentary box. What a race that was.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I've been out of the scenes for, I think my last race in the race phase season was, I think in November, or what, maybe October, I can't remember, but yeah, it's been a while, and I actually just decided this morning I was going to sign up for this race. There was 2 entries open, and I was just literally lying in bed on checking this, and I just signed up, and
Well, I mean, that lying in bed turned into you actually earning yourself a podium in an MSA recognized Africa Festival. So not your ordinary thing that you would win during a weekly thing, and something that is actually notorious and something that has a lot of value carried behind it. You are going to be etched in it to be second in this festival. I mean, how did it feel? Obviously, you've come from, like you mentioned, October was the last time you raced competitively, coming from the McLaren 720S, now jumping into the Ford Mustang for this race. How did the big V8 beast feel around Kyalami?
It's a brilliant car. I'm not a Ford fan by heart, You know, if it was a battle like it always is in America between Chevy and Ford, I'll take a Chevy. But the Mustang is amazing. I mean, comparing it with the McLaren, you know, in McLaren the brakes are nowhere, and with the Ford you can literally like brake so late and you still make it for the corner and your backside's not coming out or anything. So it's a very good car.
And then I just wanted to ask, because it was a lot of bouncing conversation here in the commentary box, the topic of tire wear. We saw loads of the other Ford drivers, especially towards the end of the race, they really started to struggle on that set of tires as it rounded off to the final couple of minutes of our laps here around Kyalami. How did the Ford feel compared to the start of the race to the end of the race? Was it a major drop-off in terms of tire wear, or was it still a decently controllable car?
No, for sure it was difficult. I also made a mistake in the beginning. My PSI was a bit too high. I was about 27.2 in the beginning, and I was in Dux 3, which I think Dux 4 might have worked a bit better to, you know, pamper the tires all the way through. So completely shot at the end.
Well, I mean, still, after the amount of, or actually the zero amount of practice you put in and decided to come in and power it through for this morning, and you actually were here, you've done it, you've come across in the podium position, absolutely phenomenal job. And all of us here from this side of commentary and everything, we wish you a incredible congratulations. It's been a phenomenal day here at Kyalami. I'm just going to give you the floor to mention anything, any potential sponsors or anybody who helped you, especially with preparation to the race, as well as our awesome sponsors here for the MSA Africa Festival.
Yeah, no, thanks. Feel good about this one. I didn't really expect it. I didn't think I was going to be on pace, you know, while I was lying in bed this morning. But it was great. I think if I practiced more, would have done better. But you know, that Mr. Menard in front, Mr. LFM Pro. Yeah, don't think I'll catch him anytime soon. But thanks.
Well, still did an incredible job, but have an absolutely awesome time ahead. And it's been an absolute honor seeing you once again up in the podium positions. Have an excellent day of celebrations. You've officially done it. Finished a podium here at the Africa Festival for 2025. We'll see you hopefully next year, maybe with a bit of preparation instead of a last minute decision for 2026.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
With cool, calm, and collected Bernard Barkhuizen going and taking up that second place, we will run through our third place. And going to be quite happy with that one is Dean Nokia of the PWSR. Dean, not long ago, you and I sat down and had a chat with one another, and you said you wanted to make the impact here in Africa. Well, now you did. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Position-wise, I'm happy with where I ended. Other than that, it was really a fun and intense race. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Well, you've managed to claim the final part on the podium. I mean, this is some incredible driving. So how are you feeling? I mean, you lined up seeing the fastest of Africa around. You're getting to verse drivers that you've never duked it out with before. Now just being there on the same grid as you. What was the emotions running through? Because this was something you've been waiting for quite some time.
Look, and on that very note, I was highly irritated with myself as I used a used tire set for qualifying, and that is what saw me not being in the top 3 qualifying, which I honestly planned. And so that set me up for a hell of a race from there onwards. So starting in Q7 was really fun. Obviously, there's one of the 2-3 fastest in the country was on Q1. Deserve it, obviously, Mr. Minor himself. And then Barkhuizen, obviously one of the top 5-8, I'll say, in the country. And then the rest of the guys very quick as well. So it was very fun. And like you mentioned, I would have liked to have done it a little bit differently, qualified up higher. But you know, not every race can be perfect, and it's what you make from it after that and your mentality to take on the race and not be despondent that actually makes for a good racer.
That was absolutely incredible. And Dean, I mean, this is quite a moment of when you got to see the drive-through suddenly arrive in front of you, and you now have this opportunity with lying in fourth. Now the third place spot is sitting there waiting for you. That last lap, knowing you had the opportunity. What was running through your head?
Do you want the honest answer, or do you want the answer that I need to say on the MSA stream at the moment?
Well, we want to have the honest answer of I mean, that's the main thing. It's an highly excitable moment.
Of course it is. Look, I've got a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, just because of who I am as a person. To be very honest with you, I was catching very quick at the end there compared to the Ferrari's tyres and the Stang's tyres, knowing I can still do mid-45s right through to the end. So my big race was going to be at the last 15 to 20 minutes, knowing that's when the Stangs are going to drop off. So I just hung back a little bit, 2-3 seconds to stay out of the dirty air and stay out of close combat, and then to start pushing the last 15 minutes. And that was very good. It worked out as planned. I obviously would have liked to start in the top 2-3, perhaps, but I wasn't. And then as I caught up, I saw I was going to get Nalia or something like that. Great driver as well, but caught up to him. And then, when he got the drive through and there was nothing else for him to gain, there was a massive gap at the back as well. For him to then stay out ahead of me, obviously he can do what he wants. He's got 3 laps to do it, of course. But that hindered me quite a little bit. I actually expected that he would let me pass so the race can continue. Obviously, unfortunately, he got his track cut and missed it. And then one of my good competitors that I'm racing with now as well, Mr. Brandon Kruger, did exactly the same as well. When he got his drive through, just stayed it out, and there was no ways you can get past them, or you were just stuck, behind 2 drivers who will wait until the last lap. So that's my honest answer. If it was me and I unfortunately killed my race, I would not keep somebody behind me who's maybe got another race to make up a position or two. So that's how I felt about that, if my answer has to be very honest with you.
Some incredible racing nonetheless, but some great racing from your part. Absolutely stunning effort. Dean, before I let you go, anything you'd like to say to our amazing partners here at the Africa Festival 2025, to all our international drivers, our international viewers coming from all the way through Africa to be part of this event, and also, more importantly, to the epic petrol heads out there?
Of course, yes. Look, I hope this is the first of many, seeing that the MSA scene is every year getting a little bit more traction. So I'm very curious to see how it's gotten there from 3-4 years ago, obviously starting in the console scene. So thank you to everybody that's making this possible. I know there's a lot of people behind the scenes that not a lot of people are aware of. So thanks to all of them. That's Paul, everybody in the studio right now, Stephen, it's yourself, Tristan, Bertus, Hansi, all of those guys that put in the time. So thank you so much for making it possible, and we'll see what happens during the course of the year, if ACC is going to be the go-to thing or one of the other sims. We'll check.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Dean Nokia taking 3rd place for the PWSR team and 3rd fastest in Africa here for Assetto Corsa Competizione out on PC. So this is going to be a proper exciting one, but we have to say farewell to Kyalami for the PC side of it, as we do have our consoles that will be going out. So just got notification that we will be uploading our consoles that will coming out to you. So they're starting their race at 5 till 6, and it will be uploaded in terms of a after stream. So please keep an eye out for that. And then ending out our entire evening will be the karting, the Tillotson T4s. They'll be duking it out and having a great time and looking around and just seeing their absolute smiles here in the commentary box, and also with our incredible broadcasting team, Genesis, being a part of the incredible broadcast. So well done to Genesis Extreme for all the hard work they put in. Tristan, as your first big main event here, congratulations to you. Also, well done to Paul and his entire team of Logistical Nightmare Racing pulling this off. But Tristan, any closing thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I just got to say, it has been a phenomenal day. Obviously, we've had a full day of racing all the way from 8:30 this morning with the WRC, which kick-started us off here for the MSA Africa Festival. And now, it's a sad feeling heading towards the end of our festival. Like you mentioned, our final race of the day coming in at 6 for the OKL Online Karting League. But still, it should have been it has been an incredible one. And I'm actually getting told I should be calling out somebody. So calling out Deploy for spelling my name wrong on the the stream commentator side. But it's all good. We keep on moving on. What matters is the voice, and that's exactly what we did today. But Stephen, it's been an honor to commentate on some of these drivers, and everybody showing their absolute blatant pace here and proving to everybody in the virtual grandstand that sim racing is not just something to look down upon. There are some fast guys here who are dedicated to making a difference.
Well, we look forward to seeing 2026, folks, so keep an eye out on it. Make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. Massive thank you to our partners yet again. And once again, here from South Africa, we challenge you all through Africa for 2026. Come take us on. We want to see the winners. We want to see the fastest. We got to see a bit of it now, but we will see plenty more action to come. So our consoles are coming through, our karting's coming through, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from the Genesis Extreme Broadcasting booth, we'd like to say thank you very much for joining us. And like always, for our ACC PC, we'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.